often an interactive session. So as I mentioned, if you can pull up the book, and Lindy will share it in the comments as well, the workbook or worksheet that was sent earlier, because we will have times where you'll be working on the worksheet, because ultimately the goal of today is for you to leave with a plan for 2026, or at least like the first quarter, and an idea, what do I want to do throughout the year? How am I going to take my business to the next level in 2026? But I know some of you, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Maggie Perotin. I'm a business and leadership coach. I work with business owners, predominantly service-based business owners. I help business owners grow even from zero revenue to their first six figures, and then scale from six figures to multiple six and seven figures. But in a way that's sustainable, without burnout, without overworking themselves, and also in a way that if that's their goal down the line, they could sell a business. So we're trying to also build an asset that, is worth something if you want to exit it at some point. I live in Ajax in Durham. I'm in a family. We're a family of immigrants. My background is Polish. My husband is French. We're in Canada. We have two kids together, but also I have two stepboys. So we're a blended family. They're not on this picture because it's harder and harder to get the six of us in one place lately. but I need to update that. We speak mostly English at home, French as well, and some Polish here and there. So my background is in business. I've really spent my career in business. Some of it was in sales for small, medium-sized businesses. In Canada, a lot of it was in corporate world, where I've done a lot of different things that give me a very rounded approach to coaching my clients. I've dealt with service delivery, operational excellence, people leadership, and leading teams, turning teams from low performing to high performing. And that, of course, includes hiring, performance management, training, you name it, project management, business analysis. And I really think business is fun. I love it. I'm also very passionate about habits and having good habits and being very effective in your life, but also in your business as a CEO. And that comes from the fact that I burned out at some point in my life, and I wanted to turn it around, and habits were a very big part of that for me. I am a host of Diamond Effect Podcasts, available on all podcasting platforms. So if you like business podcasts or self-development podcasts, I invite you to check it out one day. Okay, so let's get started. What we'll do today is I would love for you to walk away with a clear, simple, and actionable plan for 2026. And that really incorporates insights from this week. So if you attended certain sessions and you were like, oh, I would like to incorporate that in my business, hey, this is the time when you can pause, take the CEO time, and really use that knowledge and everything else that you would discover that maybe you've learned this year. And, some of my feedback, we'll have time for some questions and answering them. And really create something solid that you can work off of in 2026. And why is this important? Because unfortunately, a lot of business owners actually don't plan strategically. And they're busy, right? Stuck in their business, running from one thing to another, handling the day-to-day operations. And they think like planning and being strategic and working on their business is luxury that they can't afford when, you're kind of drowning and urgent and you're going from one thing to another. So then it's like, oh, I don't have time, and things change too fast anyway. So what's the point of thinking, right, or planning, or I know what I need to do, I just need to do it, but you don't seem to find time for that. But that actually hurts your business, okay? If you don't allocate, plan to pause, reflect, to tap into your executive brain, the most strategic, planning, creative brain, you will always be in the reactive mode. Okay, you will feel constantly behind, because if you don't create that space, it's not going to create by itself. And the more you grow the business, the busier you will get. That's just the nature of it. So we have to intentionally create time for it. And without a plan, then there's no clear direction. And when we don't have a clear direction, there's a lot of wasted effort. There's a lot of things we're doing that we shouldn't be doing. There's things that we are doing that maybe are not optimized, that we could be doing better, and therefore waste less time, right? Waste effort. And it's very hard when you don't have clarity. Also, you're missing opportunities that are right for your business, and spend time sometimes chasing things that are not the right opportunities, right? So like the shiny object syndrome. And then that creates really inconsistent result. And sometimes like the revenue plateau or slow growth or burnout for that matter. And, just an example from one of my clients who really took CEO time and planning and having a guidance seriously, like most of my clients do. But I would just give you one example. Was a therapist who had a therapy practice, and when we started working together, she had like maybe 3 contractors working for her, but she was in that like, very day-to-day mode, taking on a lot of clients herself, burning out, overworking, and so on, and really not seeing how she could scale with the way she was going, right? And she was even scared to grow her team because she barely had time for the contractors that she had. So as we worked together within that year, we set up some systems and processes for her to scale the team. I taught her some, leadership skill set. We started taking her out from the day to day. And within that year, she doubled the business. But then we created like a 3-year plan, right? 3-year strategy of how she could keep growing that based on what was already working, and just focusing and really streamlining what she was doing. And within the 3 years, she actually went from, I think in the beginning it was like around $100,000 to $750,000 in gross revenue for that business. So that just shows you the power of having the strategy, following it, of course, adapting as the time changes every year, tweaking it, but just the focus you can get when you pause and plan. Okay. So yeah, the benefits of strategic planning. You have more clarity, so you can make faster and better decisions for your business. You are more proactive. And when you are more proactive, definitely less stress, you feel more in control, and you focus on things that grow your business, not only right now, but also down the line. You have more focused attention, so ultimately better return on your time, money, and effort. And those are resources that are limited for all of us, right? And then you do grow better, sustainably, and burnout doesn't have to be the thing. Okay. So the rhythm of planning, how I like to think about it, is really figuring out reverse engineering success, right? It's hard to figure out what's the best path to growing my business if I don't know where I'm going. And I was coaching somebody on that yesterday, right? Like a client who's trying to get me to like, oh, I don't know, do I want to choose this or this? What's the better option? I was telling him like, you need to know what do you want to achieve at the end of that. Otherwise, either option is good, right? So I always suggest have a 3 to 5 year vision, and we'll have time in a second to do a little bit of that. Like, know, where do I see myself, my business, and how I lead my life in 3 to 5 years? And then from there, because your long-term vision really drives everything. Without it, it's just, we're just busy, kind of like, going day to day. And then from that, when you get to annual planning, again, this is what we're doing today, you can set your goals that align with it, right? The goals that, yes, take care of the business right now, but are also things that you're going to do that will prepare you and move you closer to the longer term vision. And then you break it down into quarters, and then you do reviews. And then, as I say, having a weekly CEO time, I call it CEO Power Hour, at least 1 hour a week, where you can plan and make sure that you do work on things that are proactive, that are not just response to what's happening now, that you know what you're going to do that week. You're not making decisions in the moment, that you can review certain things, strategize is very powerful. So that's sort of a little bit of a rhythm that I recommend. So yes, 1 hour of strategic thinking and planning will save you 10 hours of costly action and a few fires. And I'm talking from experience in my own life, especially when from the burnout experience and how the planning and the being proactive helped me in my corporate career, and now it's helping in my business, but also from the experience of teaching my clients what I'm teaching you today and seeing the results that they're getting. Okay, so we'll get to the plan, but we'll start with celebrations. I love to take time to celebrate and see how far you've come, because a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, we're usually ambitious and very driven. So we always look at the goalpost, right? We have a goal and we're like, okay, I'm going after it, but I haven't achieved it yet. And very often we live in that world where we haven't achieved yet what we want. And that can be a very miserable place to be long term, because you're like, oh my God, I'm working so hard and I'm still not there yet. While our brain usually, forgets and doesn't notice the path that we actually went through to be where we are now. But when we take time and pause and realize, hey, like I've actually accomplished a lot of things, I've had a lot of wins, and we're proud of ourselves for it, it's a much better emotional place to be to then go after the next goal. Okay. So if you take the worksheet and you look just at the first section one, celebrate and learn, and the quick win celebration, just pause for a couple of minutes and list 3 wins from this year. If you have more, great, but at least 3 wins. They don't have to be big. For some of us, some of you, maybe the year was tough. Some of you, maybe it was amazing. Regardless of how your year went, find 3 wins. And if anybody wants to share, whether it's in the, comments or just pop up saying, hey, that would be great. I will give you 2 minutes to do it. And I know some of you have great wins because I talked to some of you. So I know there's some wins in this room.
Unknown caller.
Alex Magin, how may I help you?
I would just say, please
Hello?
mute yourself unless you want to speak. Thank you. It's disruptive. We have some messages. I launched a weekly newsletter, new website, and work with new clients. Yes, I love it, Leah. That's awesome. Newsletter is a great thing. Sometimes, it takes a while for people. Amazing. Selling out multiple events, transitioning from solo proprietorship to incorporated, preparing to open brick and mortar. Amazing, Greg. Congrats. Yes, love it. And I want to encourage you to actually do it on a regular basis, not just once a year. So if you can do it monthly, even weekly, even daily, celebrating, it's just a better place to be and work from towards your goals. Sarah published 2 books, 2 TEDx talks selected as editors, pick a TED, sold out TEDx social event, multiple speaking engagements. Amazing. There's so much we can celebrate. Jen, creating procedure and structure, building team, hired admin support, got more comfortable public speaking. Yes. Hired second office staff, increase my revenue, obtain new large contract. Beautiful, Natalie. Working with BACD on the Starter Company Plus. Yes, Natalie. Lisa, Leslie. Yes, BACD, Starter Company Plus. Love it. celebrating my first year in business and have brought on new clients for 2026, expanded online presence, including a LinkedIn newsletter. Beautiful, Dorothy. Congrats. Awesome. Yes. So as I mentioned, you want to do it a regular practice. If you can do it daily, do it daily. Weekly, do it weekly, but at minimum once a month. Okay. Okay. So we'll move on to learning, right? Before you ever like plan and so on, you want to pause and learn. And you want to learn from your wins and from maybe, failures, or failures, maybe it's not the great word, but let's just say failures. Why? Knowing what's working, and when you really understand it, then it means you can double down on it. You can do more of it, just simpler and better. You can streamline things and automate. And sometimes, again, it's harder actually to learn from what's working, because when things work, we don't pay much attention to it. We're like, okay, that's great. It's working. Let's extinguish that fire. Let's go here, right? But with that, when we do that, we really miss an opportunity to capitalize on that, right? And make it even better and make it work for us a little bit more. And then, of course, with failures or things that don't work the way we want, treating it just as data. This is just as information to, hey, like this way didn't work exactly the way I wanted. Why is it, right? What can I tweak? What can I switch? Or maybe that's the wrong way. I need to pick another things, right? It shows us exactly what to stop doing or what to fix, right? As you know, I think it was Edison who said, like when he was inventing the light bulb, right? Every time he failed, he was like, just another way I figured out what's not working, and it brings me closer to where I want to go. So treating your business as a scientist is a great mindset to have. Sometimes, as business owners, especially in the beginning, when we're solopreneurs and maybe we're alone, we attach a lot of our self-identity and self-worth to the business, right? And if things don't go the way we want in business, then we feel like we're the failure, right? Like we're not good enough. We're in reality, being an entrepreneur and having a business, it's like that. There will be things you try and they don't work, and all you need to do is figure out why they're not working, try again. It has nothing to do with you as a human being. So your ability to separate that, and you're a person, but then your business is a different entity, and then you looking at your business like a scientist, right? Not emotionally attached. I know it's not always easy to do. I understand that, but working towards that, where you can study your business, right? When you track certain things and review them on a regular basis, things that matter for your business, when you measure things, so you have those key performance indicators, and they don't have to be complex. If your business is in the beginning or it's not a complicated business, those can be simple things, like, for example, my sales conversion rates, right? So if I'm talking to 10 potential clients who express interest in working with me or buying my services or whatever, right? Buying my product, how many of them convert to paying clients, right? And how can I increase that number? Because if I measure and then I start analyzing, I can figure that out, right? Testing in a way, like if I'm testing a new strategy or a new offer, a new product, and so on, how can I test? So I isolate certain variables, and I know that, okay, if I don't know, I'm launching a new funnel or whatever, and if things are not going the way I want them to go, I can identify, is it the copy? Is it the landing page? Is it the freebie? Is it the title? Whatever the case might be, right? So I'm isolating things to figure out what's not working, what do I need to tweak. Forming theories, running experiments. Very often I'll tell my clients, they're saying, okay, I want to do this and I do that. And, should I do it or not? And, if it makes sense for the business strategy, I always say, yes, do it, test it, see, that's a great theory. Now let's see if it works in the reality, right? Or let's not only see if it works, but let's make it work. figure it out. And then, of course, documenting findings so you can replicate success, right? So that's why it's super important to document and then learn. So now we're going to learn from success, let's just say failure. So if you look at next section of the worksheet, you have learning from successes. There's some 3 questions about that, right? So what did you get? How did you get your best clients this year? What routes worked, right? Like marketing or sales routes, whatever you've had, right? What worked in your financial, in your operations, in your team leadership, in your delivery? What gave you the best work-life balance moment? Right? And then learning from failures. So what didn't work and why, right? What maybe attracted difficult clients or didn't give you the results that you want? What were some operational challenges if you had, or maybe some personal kind of work-life balance or harmony challenges you've had? And then, as I said, measuring things is important. So it's thinking about, am I measuring the most important aspects of my business? And if it's not, what should I start measuring? So for that, I will give you about 10 minutes, 10 minutes to answer those questions. And then as you do, if you have any questions or you want to brainstorm with me, just, start talking or raise your hand or put a question in the comments. And if you have any aha moments as you're doing it, share it. Share with everybody so they can learn from your aha moments as well. Somebody's not muted. I'm reading some of your wins. They're great. Congratulations, everybody. Great wins. Christina, being active in the community group, actively responding, drew clients that weren't looking for a stylist. Yeah. The way I respond and the information I share to give the person reaching out brought awareness to others. Love it. Staying organized, setting one day aside helps me overview financials, how I operate, how I'm able to stay organized. Yes, love it. Your time. Task of my plate. Yes, definitely. As you grow and scale, I always say, like, sometimes I get a question, oh, when do I hire? How do I hire? Right. So the first thing you want to do when you're a solo operator, you want to make sure that you utilize your time well, right? So you're not hiring out busy stuff that maybe you think you should be doing, but you're not, because that's not lean. That's not a great operational thing to do. But you want to be very focused and very good with your time. And then when you notice that that's not enough and I need help, that's when you start hiring, thinking about, okay, what are the, tasks that I need to outsource, whether it's based on because I hate doing them and it takes me forever and I'm procrastinating and so on. That's with me with bookkeeping, for example, right? Or just because it makes sense for your business. So if you're delivering services and you have projects and you're starting having multiple projects and you can't handle them all at once, maybe it's hiring team members who will help you deliver those projects, right? Whether they're contractors, part-timers, there's many different flexible options, but that's streamlining processes without compromising product quality. Yes, very important. Very important. You always want to think about that, right? As I'm scaling and have more and more clients, how can I deliver the same or better quality to them? Because in a way, as we grow and scale and we're more resourced, we should be able to be increasing in quality rather than decreasing because we're busy. Love it. Okay, a couple more minutes. Any questions or anything you want to, advice on or just brainstorming? Feel free. Don't be scared. I got my best clients from having worked with them at some point in my career. This worked so nicely because they were already familiar with the scope of my knowledge. Yes, love it. So Dorothy, I want to actually challenge you on that a little bit and be creative and think about, okay, that is amazing, right? And when we start a business, that's great. Being able to tap to your network from the past, that's like the first thing you should do, which is great. But at some point, that is not enough, right? As you grow. So think about how can I showcase, right, my knowledge and my skills and so on, and how can I continue to showcase that so there are new people who experience that and then want to work with me. So that's my challenge for you. I'm working on my startup. I need to focus more on doing the most important things. Yes. Diane, this session should help you to figure out what they are and what to focus on. I run a fully equipped laser engraving UV printing company. We work with a range of businesses and government offices. Okay. Won't find anywhere else. Durham region. Love it. Actually, first, that would be great to next section for you. Well, for everybody. Be great. I got my best clients through email marketing. Yes, Carmen, love it. Have been forming that trust for a couple of years. Love it. Right. Streamlining operations using outbound systems and networking. Yes. And like AI has been great, right? Like the rise of AI and so on, it's really helping, I think, all businesses who use it. And if you're not using it, I highly recommend to be more productive, streamline things, save a lot of time. That's definitely a big help for all of us. I'm looking to expand because our production capacity is far greater than the volume of orders we currently receive. Yes, we're fully equipped to handle much higher workload. Wonderful. That should be the focus then. Okay. We will continue. And if you, I also recommend, because as you're going to go away from this session, your brain will keep thinking about it, right? So allow yourself to keep thinking about it and go even more in depth with that plan, right? Have ideas. So don't treat it like, okay, I spent 90 minutes, that's it. I'm not going to think about it anymore. Just allow yourself to think and just take notes and so on. So you really have a great solid plan, within the next couple of weeks. Definitely running all the time. Focus next year is to expand the team. Love it, Zara. Okay, I recently migrated as a PR a month ago, running media buying business. Media buying business here. Okay, great. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so the next thing, what I want you to brainstorm is brainstorming your true competitive advantage beyond the basics. So as we grow and scale, that becomes even more and more prevalent, because in the beginning, when we start the business and we're not sure yet, of course, we have an idea what are our strengths and how we're good at. But when we tap to already a network that knows us, likes us, and trusts us, or we build those like connections that we already have, they do work with us because they know us, right? But that takes us to a certain level. And then when we scale, in order to scale, we need to get out to colder people, right? To people that never heard of us, never saw us, and so on. And being very clear on how we stand out, how we are unique from anybody else, and then being able to communicate that, and communicating it on a regular basis becomes even more critical. So I wanted to spend a few minutes to help you think about that so you can practice it and take it to the next level in 2026. So, most businesses have a lot of unique things to deliver to their clients, but they're not always good at communicating that, right? So you want to think about what do you differently than your competitors, and how do you deliver your service and products, or how are they different than what's out there in the market, and how is that super valuable for your ideal clients, right? How is that uniquely valuable for your client? What is some unique expertise and background, your approach that you bring that nobody else has? What do your clients say about you that they don't say about others, right? Because sometimes we say, yeah, I have great customer service, but probably a lot of businesses within your industry have great customer service, unless you're really in an industry where that is not great and you're standing out. But a lot of sometimes things that we use, oh yeah, I'm a great, I'm honest and I care and I have good communication. Sometimes most of other people in our industry are the same. So like you want to be more specific, or at least you want to be clever in how you communicate that, or so it's different to everybody else. Okay, so what is that secret sauce? And I give you some examples here. It could be speed, it could be unique methodology and I can never say that word, but unique framework. a systemized approach that creates certain results, right? So, like, of course, it will be different. Definitely, when you're a solopreneur, and especially if you're in professional services, or, what you deliver relies a lot on your personal brand, then your personal story will be one of those pieces to competitive advantage, because that's unique. Nobody else has it as you. And once you get clear on that, then of course you utilize it in your marketing and your sales, whether it's through case studies, through, picking out testimonials from the clients that actually talk to it. Because very often our clients subconsciously, how they experience you will pick up on those things, and that will be reflected in your testimonials. So I highly encourage you to go through your testimonials and look for where the client indirectly or directly speaks to those things. So how can I use that to actually market myself, right? Creating Q&A content around it on your website, on your social media, and your email marketing, right? Showing behind the scenes, if it's your methodology or how you deliver things, or how you manufacture things, if you're a product business. That's also showcase your competitive advantage, right? Comparison content, and what I mean by that, very often it's good with product businesses. I know, Carmen, you have an app, right? So, hey, my app, if there are other apps like that or similar apps, okay, what does my app has that others don't, right? Or so it's more that I don't like to promote like negative marketing, saying like, oh, my competition is bad at this and this and that, and I'm the best. It's not about that. But if it makes sense, comparing certain products and so on, hey, my product has this, and then competition has this, but they don't have that. That helps clients kind of realize what is best for them, right? Okay, so moving on in the worksheet, I think it's on page 3. Communicating your advantage. So thinking about, sorry, not communicating. Section 2, your competitive advantage. So looking at answering the questions that maybe will help you identify that, and then thinking about, how can I incorporate that into my marketing and sales? How can I communicate it, whether it's through content? And by content, I mean, it could be your flyer, marketing flyer, or it can be a social media post. It could be a newsletter. It could be blog, whatever you're doing right now. So I'll give you about 4 minutes or so for that. And same, if you want to share what it is in the chat, share. If you have any questions about that, feel free to speak up. I'm happy to provide feedback or advice. Yes, Carmen, like an actual comparison chart. Sometimes you have that in softwares, certain blogs, right? Like, oh, I want a CRM system, and here are my things. What are the, what each CRM does? Yeah. It's a great visual for people to quickly scan and say, oh yeah, like, this is what I need. Hi, Sarah, no problem. Need to drop off, you need to drop off. All I encourage you is to finish the worksheet, to actually sit through it and do it, so you have it for 2026. But thanks for joining. You're very welcome, Christina. Worksheet printed, enjoying trying this out. Yeah. I love planning, Christina. I'm with you. I'm always excited to do the plan. That's a strategic CEO work. And it is fun because in a way it's very creative, right? Like you get to think and create and be like innovative. Okay, what can I do to grow my business? That's exciting. Great. Leslie, I love that aha moment. So Leslie is a great aha moment. This question just made me realize I've been describing my business in ways that don't reflect what I actually do. Now I need to rethink things. That's great. That's a great aha moment because now you get to actually do it, right? You get to rethink and start talking about your business in a way that showcases what you do. And then it's just getting better and better at it. So it's simpler and easier to understand to your ideal client. Okay, one more minute. Keep going. So we get everything. One of my challenges is which business to lead with TEDx, which is a nonprofit, or my law of attraction-based sales training business. Any thoughts, Maggie? Sarah, I would have some more questions. Which business to lead? I would have more questions for you before giving you my thoughts. And you know what? Like we're getting into it. So first of all, my question would be 3 to 5 years from now, what is your ideal state looks like in terms of the business and your personal life? Where do you see yourself, right? And based on that, and we'll do it in a second, and then based on that, I would see, okay, how do I get there the easiest and the simplest way? And it might be with both businesses, but then when you look at 2026 saying, okay, given the state of both businesses, which one needs my attention in terms of leading more in order for me to get to that 3 to 5 year vision? I hope that helps, but I would just have a little bit more questions for you before I tell you like what I think. Having me look at how AI will impact my business. That's great, Diane. I love that. Yes. And we'll talk about risks in a second. Good advice. Okay. Well, I'm glad it helped. Okay, so that's a great segue to the next section. So the next section will start sort of setting goals and planning, but we'll start with 3 to 5 years. So starting with the end in mind. So just as Zara asked that question and I responded, like when you know where you want to be with your business and your life 3 to 5 years, right? Kind of pie in the sky, like ideally, where would I want to be? Then it's easier to make those decisions. Or should I go this way or that way? Should I take this opportunity and that opportunity? If you don't, it's hard, right? I always give that example of a scene from Alice in Wonderland when Alice asks the cat, like, oh, which way do I go? And the cat asks her, well, where do you want to be? And she's like, I don't know. Well, then any road will take you there, right? That's his advice. And I think it's so powerful because it's true. So I want you to think, where do I want to be, right? And it might be with the business you have. Maybe you have a couple of ventures just like Zara. Maybe you're thinking, or maybe I want to start something else, whatever that is. But you want to think about your revenue level, your team size, the structure, your role in the business, right? Am I an CEO or am I still actively serving clients, or am I kind of, I don't know, letting my kids run the business, and then I'm just on the board of advisors or board of directors and removing myself, right? Every one of you, it's in a different life situation, and you want to do what you want to do, right? Like you want to live your life the way you want, that makes you happy, that makes you feel fulfilled, the impact you want to make, right? So your long-term vision is sort of your destination that should drive the critical decisions that you make. And then the 2026 plan, it's a next major milestone on that journey. So what we're going to do, we'll think about that, and then I'll ask you to set an income goal for 2026, right? That moves your vision, moves you toward you're closer to your vision. And I always say, like, as a business owner, setting a gross revenue goal is very powerful, because then you can start thinking about, okay, how do I get there, right? What type of clients do I need? The amount of sales I need to do. Maybe if I think about that revenue, what type of team do I need to actually deliver that, right? That then can tell you, like, do I need to invest in technology? Do I need to change anything in operations? All those decisions, like having that revenue goal will help you make the best decisions. Also include work-life harmony goal, meaning, don't forget that we have personal lives that matter, at least for most of us, right? Whether you have younger kids or older kids, or maybe you want to travel more, or whatever that is, it's important. The powerful thing about being an entrepreneur is we get to decide, right? We get to create the business we want. But if you don't think about your personal life, as your business grows and scales, it's easy for it to overtake everything, and then you feeling burnt out and maybe not motivating, or losing the passion for your business because you're just running in it all the time and not filling up your cup in other areas of your humanness, the human being. So planning for it and then structuring the business so it incorporates your personal life in a way where it allows you to live your personal life, right? It's important, and it won't happen on its own. You have to plan and intentionally do it. And then what we'll do, we'll break down your revenue into quarters. So what you want to think about the quarters is, if you have some seasonality in your business, then, think through that and break down revenue accordingly. If you're new or you don't have a seasonality, then you can just divide that revenue goal into 4 equal kind of parts, right? I think that's that. Okay, yes. So we are moving into worksheet on section number 3. So vision check. So think first about your vision, 3 to 5 years. You can answer the sub questions that are there. And then set your 2026 goal in terms of revenue and that work-life balance. Like, yes, I want to achieve that revenue, but how do I want to live, right? Like certain boundaries. Like maybe, I'm personally definitely don't want to achieve a revenue at the expense of my family, right? That's a no-no for me. So like, always think about that. And then there are some questions of what needs to happen for you to achieve that income goal for 2026, not the 3 to 5 year vision, but for 2026, right? How many clients you need? Are you changing prices? Are you thinking about launching maybe new offers or entering new markets? Do you need to hire team members? Any systems you need to implement? Think also about like technology and stuff, right? So like jot down, even if they're just ideas, thinking like, oh yeah, if I want to achieve this, I probably need this, and so on. That's important. And then break down your revenue into quarters. And for now, that's it. And I'll give you another 7 minutes to do that. And as usual, if you have questions or you want to brainstorm something with me, feel free to speak up or put your question in chat. Lindy, Natalie is asking if the recording will be sent to the participants of the session.
I did answer her back.
Oh, you
Yeah,
did?
we will
Sorry,
be.
I'm blind.
It's okay. That's
Perfect.
okay.
Feel free to ask questions.
The brains are thinking.
I know.
It's good. It's very good.
Yes. You know, and if you feel like your brain is fuming at the end, it's okay. It's good. It's a good thing. I always tell my clients, you know, like the brain is like a muscle. It needs to work sometimes. So it's a good work. And as I said, you will be thinking about it later on, and then your brain will think about it, whether, you know, you realize that or not. So you might come up with other ideas and other things. It often happens to me, right? I think about something and I develop it at the first stage, and then as I walk away from it, and, you know, whether it's in the morning or on a walk and so on, I have more ideas about it or more points that I, you know, come my way, and that's fine. That's a good thing. Just be ready to write them down and add them to the plan and reconsider certain things. You don't have to be very specific, Carmen. If you want to, I would say like the impact, I would want to invite to be as specific as you need to be very motivated, right? To something that really brings out your passion for what you do. So if, so for example, helping all the women in Durham region, or all the mothers, just because I know what your app is all about, right? All the mothers in Durham region is motivating them to do this. If you're like, no, I want to help all the mothers in Canada, that's my like impact and big mission, put that in. Or it can be 1 million, right? You can put a number to it, but you don't have to. Okay. Okay, one more minute. Then we'll think about risks. Okay, then the next step to that is like a mini SWOT assessment and really risk assessment. So now think about, now that you thought like, okay, you have a little bit of, you have an income goal, you have certain quarterly goals, like you thought a little bit, how am I going to achieve it? Now you want to stress test it in a sense where you want to think about, okay, what are potential risks that could slow me down or prevent me from achieving parts of those goals and so on? And what am I going to do about it, right? So the way we think about risks, we think about, okay, there is a couple of things we can do with the risk. Yeah, we can eliminate it. So if it's within our control and we can really prepare or prevent it, we can eliminate it. We can mitigate it. So maybe it's a risk that external, we don't fully have control over it happening, but we have some control where we can mitigate it. So for example, like insurance is one of those things, like, okay, I don't have fully in control that, let's say if as a client, I go to, let's say, BACD's space, I delivered a workshop and I break something because of my clumsiness, right? Let's say I can't fully control that, but how I can mitigate that risk is have liability insurance. So if it's a big loss for BACD, then, my insurance can pay for it. And then sometimes there's risk that we really can't do much and we just need to accept it. We have no over it, or because they're so unlikely to happen that right now I'm going to accept it and I'm sort of going to deal with it when it comes. So what you want to think about risk is you want to think about internal risk. So internal obstacles that might slow your growth. And we do want to think about something that's most probable, not necessarily some things that are, far-fetched. So for example, a key employee. What if I have a key employee that right now is very critical to my operation? What if they leave? Or what if they not even leave, but get sick for a prolonged period of time, right? What am I going to do? Or my key marketing strategy. Maybe right now my clients are coming from one or two sources. What if one of them stops working? How am I going to do that, right? How am I going to mitigate that? And then you want to think about external risks, so risks that are not inside our business, that are coming outside of the business. So one of the key examples from like this year is tariffs, right? Okay, there's tariffs happening and it somehow affects my business. How am I going to mitigate? What am I going to do about it? Of course, just focusing on what's within your control. There's things we can't control. So that section in the worksheet, that's the next section. Think about 3 main ones, internal and external. What are you gonna do? So the risk and like, how am I gonna prepare for that if it happens? And I will give you 3 minutes for that. Again, feel free to ask questions. Could you give an example for service-based business? For you, Leah, because I know you. Let me think about. So for example, think about, what are my key ways of attracting clients? right now. So if you have, let's say, 3 keyways, what if one of them stops working for one reason or another? What would you do? Or if it wasn't as effective, like how would you handle that? Or even a simple one, like very small but simple one, saying, hey, what if, I have a client and they're really not happy with my services and they write me a bad review? What would I do then? Whether it was going to be fair or not, right? Because of course, we do our best, but we can please 99, 100% of people 100% of the time. It's just impossible, and especially when you grow and scale and you handle more and more clients. So I'll give you a funny story without divulging names. I have one of the clients, and she got herself like in a situation where she missed a deliverable to the client, but it wasn't really fully her fault. Client didn't follow her process that she had, and that she, communicated to the client, this is what you need to do, blah, 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 to get the services delivered. Client did not follow through, and it fell off the radar for the client and so on, right? And she panicked because it became an issue inadvertently, and she refunded client the home everything that they paid, even though she incurred cost and so on. And again, the blame wasn't fully on her, right? There was things that clients didn't do on their end. So we coached on it and we learned from it. But like, okay, one of the lessons was, first of all, how can I on my end do the best to prevent that from happening? And also, what is my policy in this case? Because, it refunding the whole thing wasn't probably the best business decision for her in that moment, or at all. Like, that's not the thing, right? It's okay to refund the clients if, the challenge happens because of your mishap or whatever. But in this case, it wasn't. So sort of that's what we dealt with. Like, okay, how can I on my end minimize those instances if it was to happen again? But if it was to happen again, what would be my policy there, right? And creating a policy for it. I hope that helps. Yeah. Okay. We'll keep moving. Okay. What we're going to do now, we'll start creating the Q1 action plan, being very specific. And why only Q1? Because, I'm not a big fan of like writing down to every step you would take all year up until Q4 next year, because of course at this point we don't know how the year is going to go. We don't know. There will be, as we go into 2026, January happens, February happens, you have data of how the year is going. You will want to adjust certain things. So it's a little bit of waste of time and effort if you're trying to be too specific in quarter like 3 or 4, into the year. But what you want to do is you want to have an idea what you would like to tackle in those quarters. And that's where the concept of focus areas goes. And let me explain that to you. So, of course, Q1 sets the tone for entire year. You want to make it count, so we'll be more specific here. But how I teach my clients is I want you to think about, you have the goal, the income goal and so on. You know more or less what needs to happen now to achieve it. So what would be the 3 focus areas, the 3 buckets that I'm going to focus on, at least at first in Q1, where if I focus on these and I take action in these buckets, I will achieve that goal, right? I will come closer. And some of those buckets can be the same for the entire year. Some of these buckets might change. So for example, if you need to implement a new technology or a new CRM system, that might be a project or one focus area for Q1, but then once it's implemented and it's running, then, it's not a focus area anymore. It's just part of your day-to-day operation. And then Q2, it might be something else. Or, if one of the focus areas is grow my team and I hire the team members that I need in Q1, that's fine. Maybe Q2 is training them and coaching them and making sure that they're successful, right? So some of the focus areas could be just almost project-based for a quarter. Some of them, like client acquisition, for example, we want to expand, right? One of you were saying that you have manufacturing capacity more to what the orders are, so we want to expand. That client acquisition and expansion could be a focus area for each quarter of the year. And why focus area? Because again, if everything is important, nothing is. And again, my favorite example to give, if you haven't read, I love a book called The Ride of a Lifetime by Bob Iger, who was a long-term CEO of Disney. And great book, great story. And, if you're into business, I highly recommend. But in that book, when he just first took on being CEO of Disney, one of his mentors said, there's so much that needed to happen at Disney at the time when he took over that if you try to fix it all at once, you just spread yourself too thin, you're going to drown and you're not succeed as a CEO. So the mentor said you have to have no more than three focus areas, and then tackle them, and then if you fix it or whatever, then next year you can have something else. And he followed that, and he was a very successful CEO. So I always say, like, hey, if CEO of Disney, such a complex multinational company with many different offerings and so on, can have three focus areas, as small business owners, we can have three focus areas as well. So just examples of what that could be. Of course, you want to tailor it to your business. Is if I had a focus area of client acquisition, the second could be, I'm going to launch my newsletter. Okay, so I will make it a project because I haven't done it yet. I will make it the project. I will focus on it. I will launch it. It's done. And then the third is, I need to hire some people in my team, right? So that could be the focus area. Specificity is power. When we have vague intentions, they don't create the results, right? And that allows you to be very clear on the actions you need to take. So once you have focus areas, now you're going to decide what are the actions within those buckets that I will need to take. So on this example, you have here, okay, client acquisition. So the monthly action is maybe I run a monthly email campaign and I attend one industry event. Oops, sorry. And then a weekly action would be I go to 2 networking events and I meet with some people over there, or I post on social media 3 times a week and send one newsletter, whatever, right? And daily actions is I follow up with my leads. I make sure that my clients are taken care of, that the orders are out or whatever. Or I have a, check-in with my team members. I engage with some ideal clients. So you can see how from the focus area, start drilling down into very specific actions, and then you get to decide who does those actions, right? So if you have a team, you don't have to be the one doing it all. You can decide, okay, I do this, my team member does this. If you are a solopreneur, then, those actions probably you will be doing it. But if you realize there's too many of them, I might need help. I might need to hire some help. And ultimately what happens then, that's the plan, but what happens then on a weekly basis during that CEO hour, you want to start plugging those actions into your calendar. You want to be deciding ahead of time for the week, these are the actions I'm going to take from my plan to ensure that you take them, to ensure that your day-to-day is not going to overtake and you will, leave the plan in the drawer collecting dust and be again scattered and not grow as fast as you could and slow down, your progress even to your big vision. All right. Okay. So about 7 minutes. Yeah, I want to try to finish on time. So section 5, design your Q1 plan. Think about your focus areas. You don't have to have 3. You can have 2, 1 or 2, no more than 3. And then think about the actions that fall into those focus areas, and you have a team, then decide who would take those actions. And then for those of you that, were part of Do It in Durham, there is a section of, what is it that I learned in some of the events? What are the aha moments that I had, and how can I incorporate that in my Q1 plan? There's a section there. Same if you have questions or you want to share. In the comments, put that in. And I'm happy to brainstorm with you. Would a newsletter considered as client acquisition? Is definitely part of client acquisition. Agreed. It's a nurturing. It's a way to nurture people who already somehow heard about you, but they're not ready to buy from you yet, right? So when you are thinking about your marketing and sales strategy, what's important to think about is, okay, in my marketing, I gain visibility, I meet people who could potentially be my clients, I attract them to me, right? By talking about, giving them value, talking about what I do and so on. But realistically, out of 100 people I meet, 9 by statistically are ready to buy from me now, or less, sometimes less than 9, right? So how do I take care of the other 90% or 95% of people and stay on top of their mind? So then when they're ready to buy, they think about me first and not go to my competition, right? So newsletter is wonderful tool to do that, to build a better relationship, more in-depth relationship, to give more value and kind of stay on top of mind. So it is part of client acquisition, 100%. And then if you're a product business, then of course it's a way to sell, run certain promotions or bonuses and so on. So it's part of nurturing, it's part of selling. Yes. Thank you so much. No problem, Sherry. Definitely complete the worksheet. Highly recommend.
Yeah, thank you for expanding on that, because I was getting, it's Diane Barham.
Yes.
And I'm getting tripped up with what is sales revenue generating and the marketing component. And so when I think about, of course, meeting potential clients and nurturing the relationship, what are the specifics, would you say, that would deal with the sales and the revenue generation?
Okay.
Or should newsletter go in both areas?
Newsletter does in this. So how do I say that? Okay. Definitely marketing and sales overlap, right? There are certain actions that are maybe just marketing. There are certain actions that are just sales, but then there's a lot of overlap. So for example, in your marketing, when you talk about your competitive advantage or how people can talk to you or answer people's questions, you are already selling. You're pre-selling them on how they can work with you and how are you unique and so on, right? So there is some selling happening in marketing, or there should be, right? So if you in your marketing, you're just doing like value and you're educating people, and then you're using a little bit of your personal brand, what's going on, and you're not incorporating sales components like talking about your offers, talking about, how you're different, answering certain questions, then you have a missed opportunity. So I highly recommend you incorporate that. And that's our portions of selling, but it happens in your marketing, right? In your social media, the newsletter, whatever. And so then there is that. So marketing is about attracting new people, right? And then nurturing people you have. But through nurturing, you're doing a little bit more sales. And then as they're ready, they start saying, okay, I want to work with you, Diane. And then of course, I don't know your business, so I don't know what your sales process, but let's say if part of your sales is, okay, let's have a consultation or discovery call or some sort of presentation. Now you're moving into sales.
Oh, I
All of
get it. I
those,
get it.
you know what I mean? All of those are money-making activities, and you have to do them all. Right? Now, if
So
you're, yeah, go ahead, ask a question.
no, so I really got that. So the act of introducing the service, this is the marketing piece.
Yeah.
And when we move it to the next stage, like the sales presentation, the kind of have a conversation about what you do, then it moves from marketing into sales. So it changes.
100%.
Okay, great.
And you need to do it all, and you can't forget about one or the other, and you need to be tracking, kind of understanding. So again, being the scientist, understanding what's working here, kind of how can I keep improving that? So my conversion rates from, okay, I'm sort of met Diane and I like her, and now I'm interested in her services, and now I want to have a conversation to buy from her, right? So those conversions in each step are as high as possible. So that's where the scientist approach come in, because otherwise, sometimes people, just focus on marketing because there's a lot of talk out there about marketing and leads and so on. But if they don't approach and think about conversions down the funnel, then you can spend a lot of time and money bringing people in, and then they start leaking out and still not bring enough revenue, right? Where your focus has to be a little bit in each area. Unless you're a brand new business and you haven't signed a client, then go and do all the marketing only, right? And then start converting them. But if you've already had clients, you need to do all of it.
That's great. Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Oh, and my business is in HR and human resources. Like my services is to provide small businesses with their policy development and all of their work that they need from HR, but don't have that kind of time to do that piece.
Yeah. So you would have some sort of sales conversation, right, with a potential client presentation.
Yes.
And
it's a new business that I'm bringing to fruition, and so that's something that I am doing.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No, you're very welcome. Perfect. Okay, so we're moving forward, but definitely this section, I encourage you to be very specific and to take it seriously, and then from that work your weekly actions as you go into 2026. And by being very specific, it's just like I gave you in examples, right? Not just like network more. No. How many networking events you're going to do, right? Is it going to be 2 a week, 2 a month, whatever works for you, for your business, your goals, your personal life, but be very specific, right? And not like, oh, I want to be more consistent on social media. That's too vague. What does that mean, right? With social media, the way I coach my clients, I always say, hey, like, what is the minimum you want to commit? Is it 3 times a week? Is it 4 times a week? Once a week? I would say if you're on LinkedIn, that's okay. But if you're trying to be on Instagram or whatever, that's not enough for your algorithm to even like notice you, right? But let's say 3 times a week, then commit to that and figure out systems and habits and processes that will allow you to do it. But at minimum, right? And the minimum is 80% of the time. So 80% of the weeks within a year, I'll do 3 times a week. And then 20% of the time, if you don't, not a big deal, right? We wanted it to be majority. Okay. So then one last thing, I want you to think about what is going to be your first action step, right? So as you looked at your plan, so you have at least a skeleton of the plan or a more solid plan, depending on how fast you work. What is the one thing that you're going to do this week? Well, this week, maybe next week, a week almost over, but this next week, by the end of this month, to start making this plan real. Maybe you've realized that there are certain little improvements or certain things that are low-hanging fruit that you can implement right away. And you don't need to wait till January. It always action creates momentum. So you don't want to put it away and think about, oh, I'll get back to it in January, because by then, who knows, you might lose it, the motivation might fall off. You want to sort of create that momentum. What is the one thing that you can commit to? I'll give you 2 minutes to think about it, but definitely share in the comments. It's full now. Okay, my planner is full now. Thanks to your direction. Love it. I have to go. No problem. Jen, go. We'll catch up. Dorothy, phenomenal session. Very helpful. I'm glad to hear you, Dorothy. I'm glad you could make it. Motivated. Yeah. Those sessions, like when you actually take time to plan, they are igniting and motivating. You know, sometimes at the end of the year, we can feel like a little bit tired from the year and demotivated and not feel like, another year. But when you actually pause and start planning and being creative that way, it's very energizing and motivating. So I love it. Yes, explore system integrations, automate processes you don't like doing. Yes. Love it. HR teaser workshop. Yes, Diane. Love your first step to complete the workshop. And then there is a little homework exercise if you want to. I highly recommend, and it's more of a future self perspective to do it at home. So, and do it over the weekend. Give yourself like 15 minutes and imagine yourself, it's end of December 2026, and you'll actually achieved your goals. So they're done. 100% they're done. And think about what advice would your future self give yourself right now, right? What wisdom your future self would have for your current self. It's a very powerful exercise, so I highly recommend you do it. It's on the worksheet. But just to finish off, I want to thank everybody for coming. If the what is it called? The recording will be shared by Lindy and BECD, so you can always go through it again to finish up your plan. Definitely your next steps, refine the plan. Make sure it's very specific. Make sure it's something you can work off. You can, plan your action. Follow it, okay? Don't be one of those people who by the end of January forgotten what they planned and they get distracted by everything. Follow it. And then do quarterly reviews and readjustments, right? So once a quarter, at the end of the quarter, look at the plan and think about the next quarter. And think about, what do I need to refine? Is one of the focus areas changing? What do I need to do? What can I learn? So sort of what we did today, but like a mini version of that. Because when you learn, you can adjust, you can continuously improve, and that's very powerful. And then, hey, if you're looking for a coach or you want to talk about your business or, have my insights, I do offer complimentary consultation on my website, storytoleadership.com. So I invite you to, connect with me. You can follow me on Instagram, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm available. Check out my podcast. And thank you.
Thank you, Maggie, so much. I'm sure I'm reading the comments and everybody was loving the workshop. So we will be sending the recording out. It will be beginning of next week. Like Maggie said, continue to work through the workshop, the worksheet over the weekend, and allow it to just, ruminate. Thank you so much for your time, Maggie.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. And I'm glad that it was helpful. I know some of you have more questions than answer. I love that, Lisa. But it is a good thing. It is a good thing. It was supposed to help you, also challenge you a little bit, right? And how you think, how you approach your business. And it is a good thing, right? So the answers will come. Will be emailed, posted. Awesome. Love it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye everybody.